Hey, what's up, guys? Joker here for TGW number 82. Today we are going to be covering mostly news that's all coming out of CES 2017, which just kicked off today. Nvidia is going to be hosting their big keynote later on tonight. There's a lot of hype surrounding that. We're expecting to see the announcements of GTX 1080 Ti. Tomorrow we're expecting a big announcement from AMD for Zen and possibly even Vega. They got the Vega website up, and we're expecting to see Zen on details on Zen as well. So a lot of big news announcements are going to be coming in probably in the next 24 hours or so. I'll probably end up doing another news video either tomorrow or the next day once we have kind of everything that we need to know about the 1080 Ti, Vega, Zen, and there may be one or two videos actually nestled in all of that. So that'll still be coming, but we got plenty of news to get us through here today on TGW as it does fall on a Wednesday. First up, we'll be talking up about Nvidia. I don't really have any tech pickups this week to speak of, really. I didn't really pick up any tech products. I'm kind of in the loo right and just in tech limbo right now, kind of waiting for new tech to come out. Like Kaby Lake, the reviews just went up for Kaby Lake, and I've been waiting to get an i7 7700K. And then after seeing the reviews and how unimpressive they are, I was on Micro Center. They've got the 6700K. You could pick them up on there for $300. So I was like, should I save $40 and pick up a 6700K or wait for Kaby Lake to ship and have those in stock at Micro Center for another $40, $50 and then hope I get a 5 gigahertz chip, which is probably what I'll inevitably end up doing just so that I could say it's the higher number in my videos and someone's that one guy will be like, well, why don't you have a 7700K? Why do you have a 6700K? Are you like not a serious YouTuber in 2017, Joker? Like, what's going on? So then I'll have to answer that question and deal with that guy. So we'll just end up getting the new Kaby Lake processor at the end of the day. So yeah, I'm kind of waiting for that to come out, waiting for Zen, obviously, hoping to get that sent out at some point. Hopefully, fingers crossed on that. And then Vega too. Hopefully we'll be able to check that out. 1080 Ti, like I said, that's the first thing we're going to be talking about today. Anthony's not here this week for because he's actually at CES. He's been doing the past couple of streams. He's going to be the regular co-host now. For anyone that missed that little announcement we did on one of the like a stream or two back, Anthony is the new permanent co-host on TGW. But when he has to travel for events like this, if it's not feasible, then he's just not going to be able to do the show. Like right now, he's at CES, so we're just kind of kicking it off solo today. And just later tonight, actually, we're expecting to see Jensen Huang from Nvidia actually taking stage for the Nvidia Keynote, where Video Cards is saying that we're going to see the announcement of the 1080 Ti. They had quoted out a tweet from Ryan Shrout from over at PC Perspectives that he's hearing some interesting things about the press conference tonight. Might be something there for gamers after all. And Video Cards is basically saying, according to their sources at least, that this is going to be the 1080 Ti coming, which I've certainly been waiting for. I want to get my hands on this card. I doubt Nvidia would ever send me one because they just don't really know that I exist. Although I don't know how that's possible with all the graphics card coverage that I do. But yeah, that just seems to be the case anyway. So I'll end up buying one of these because it's fun. I just don't know how much they're going to cost. We've talked about this in multiple videos about how much this thing is going to cost. I'm expecting it to be around $800 or $900, maybe $900 on like the Founders Edition, and then I'm thinking somewhere around $799 for aftermarket cards at like the starting price. But you know, we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully, we do get an announcement of 1080 Ti later this evening, which would be Nvidia really cutting the rug out from under AMD. We're expecting to see Vega probably shown off at least in some detail. Tomorrow we've got some more info on that later on in this TGW. So yeah, we'll get to all that in a minute. I'm trying on my own here. You guys can let me know in the chat what do you guys think about the 1080 Ti announcement? You guys will be able to watch it. I do have a link down in the description if you want to check it out. It's kicking off like it says on Video Cards in 4 hours 25 minutes. It's 6:30 Pacific, which is 9:30 Eastern, and you'll be able to watch it on the Nvidia website. I'm definitely planning on tuning in and watching this and finding out when the Ti will actually ship. I think it was on Video Cards that I was reading. Our sources confirmed it will be announced today. We're looking at a paper launch with reviews coming at a later date. So Video Cards are saying that we'll see the Ti just basically announced today. Maybe they'll show it off running on one of these new monitors. That's another thing that was also posted by Video Cards. It leads into our second story. This was a leaked press release from Asus. Now, this has not officially been shown off by Asus yet at CES, but this press release, which looks pretty legit, it's got all the details and specs you would expect to see in a monitor press release of this sort. And this monitor is probably going to excite a lot of you guys out there that I know have been waiting for this type of technology. This is going to be 27 inches is kind of is the downfall of this monitor. I feel I really would have loved to seen a 32-inch monitor in this. That's the only bad thing about it, because it is a 4K screen. So 27 inches in 4K, you're going to have a really, really small pixel density, which is going to look great in games, but it can be harder for some people, the desktop, to be able to use it. But it's 4K, 144 hertz, HDR on an IPS monitor, so it's got everything that gamers have been waiting for, G-Sync, all that stuff. So if you're keeping tally there, 4K, 144 hertz, HDR, G-Sync, all of that goodness, but it's in a 27-inch monitor, so for 4K, that can be somewhat limiting as far as the desktop use is concerned, but for gaming, this is going to be it's going to be absolutely amazing. This is going to be the game changer. This is what people have been waiting for. I'm hoping that we'll see some answers from other companies like Acer coming out after this, because so far what we've got from Acer, which we'll show later on in today's show, doesn't talk anything about 4K 144 hertz screen. This is the only leaked press release that I've seen so far, and this was over on video cards where they're even talking about a 4K 144 hertz screen. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see if we get any more announcements coming out of CES, but right now this is looking like the most promising one for the technology that I've seen a lot of people in all of the video, monitor reviews I'm doing for like the past 2 years now. People said, "Oh, I'm just waiting for 4K 144 hertz. I'm just waiting for 4K 144 hertz," and I can kind of understand the reasoning behind that, because I'm kind of waiting for it as well for my next big upgrade. And starting price on this probably like $18,000. No, I don't know how much is it going to cost. I have no idea how much. I don't think they actually list price in here. Go ahead and do a Control F on this. No price. They could price it at $1,500. Yeah, someone said in the comments $1,500. I don't know. Not for a 27-inch screen. For a 27-inch 4K at this type of I would expect to see this launching at around $1,000, only because it's a 27-inch screen. I've seen the 32-inch 4K monitors; those are around like $1,200, $1,300. So for a 27-inch monitor like this, I don't expect to see it more than $1,000 or $1,100. Just because it's 27 inches, like I said. If it was 32 inches, then yes, certainly you could probably see this approaching the likes of $1,500, but I don't think we'll see that on this monitor size. But we'll probably find out in the next day or two, once Asus actually wants to go ahead and release this information legitly, and it's not a video cards press leak. The Core i7, the Kaby Lake i7 7700K, as well as the 7600K and i3 and the other variants and all of that, they got their NDA lifted, so reviews started going online earlier. I believe it was earlier today. Yeah, no, yesterday actually. It was yesterday. All the reviews started showing up online, and they've kind of confirmed what we've been talking about for the past couple of months with leaked benchmarkers leaked benchmarks that have been coming out, kind of showing that this is really just a higher clocked Skylake chip. In some of the core-to-core testing that we saw with Skylake versus the Kaby Lake variants, where they were clocked at the same speeds. In some instances on PC Perspective's review, you actually even saw Skylake coming out ahead of Kaby Lake when they were clocked at the same exact speed. So really not seeming like there's a whole lot of reason to go out and pick up Kaby Lake unless you've been sitting around for a while, since like Sandy Bridge or something like that, and you just got the itch to upgrade now finally. Then you may as well go ahead and get the newer one. You're going to get probably up to close to a 5 gigahertz overclock on these things. You're going to be able to get 4K decoding, so you can get 4K Netflix support on Windows 10 if that's something that matters to you at all. But otherwise, yeah, you may as well get this as opposed to just getting the Skylake processor if you want the extra little features and the better overclocking. Or you can always wait for Zen too. That's what I would really want to do if I was sitting on the fence and it's just waiting for Kaby Lake to come out or Zen. I would still wait for Zen to see what they can do in competing at a similar price point around that $400, around like $300-$400 to compete with Kaby Lake, and we'll see what they can do. Maybe with like the mid-range Zen release. I'm expecting the higher end 8-core to be up around over $400-$500. That's why I say sort of the mid-road Zen CPU, which maybe we'll see like a quad core with hyper-threading, like 4 cores, 8 threads, that would be very similar to an i7 like this, like the 7700K. I think we will see a processor like that from AMD competing with it. So we'll see what those come out, when they even come out, what they're priced at. I was looking into when these will be available earlier today, and they said probably in late January. So that's when I'll be looking to probably pick up a Kaby Lake processor and do some type of build and throw it all together for a new test system, at least until Zen is available, and then we can go ahead and work with that also. But speaking of the overclocks with Kaby Lake 7700K, a lot of reviewers have been able to get theirs up to 5 gigahertz, some others only 4.9. But what they're basically saying here over on Hard OCP is that on a bad Kaby Lake CPU processor, you're looking to do about 4.8 gigahertz at below 1.3 volts on the core, while if you're getting one of the good CPUs, you're looking at around 5 gigahertz at 1.35 volts, and you may even be able to get up to 5.1 on some of the golden Kaby Lake Silicon Lottery CPUs. I know with my Skylake i5 6600K, I was able to get that to 4.9 gigahertz on 1.35 volts. So if this is just a more refined version of Skylake, which it really is, then I would say 5 gigahertz at 1.35 volts would seem pretty ideal if you are winning the Silicon Lottery out there on the processor that you get. Up next, we've got some AMD news. They're going to be showing off their Ryzen and Vega stuff. They've already started showing off some things. At CES, they showed Vega running with Ryzen on Star Wars Battlefront at 4K Ultra settings here. And we could see it, everything maxed out completely and getting up over 60 FPS. I actually went ahead and re-downloaded this game earlier. I wanted to go ahead and run it in 4K before the show started, but I actually just kind of ran out of time and didn't get a chance to go ahead and do that. But we'll see here on the video that was posted where you can see it getting up over 60 frames, solid 60 frames. It looks like they've got VSync on maybe. And 4K Battlefront, which is not that taxing game. It's very well optimized. Beautiful looking game though. So certainly impressive that it can run it at 4K, 60 FPS. Vega, make AMD great again. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Vega can do and comparing that against 1080 Ti, because that's really going to be the deciding factor for me is which one of those cards puts out the best performance. Because I've got very similar monitors here in my Pixio and my Acer. They're both 1440p, 27-inch, 144 hertz IPS monitors, so I can very easily swap out my G-Sync monitor for a FreeSync monitor, which is comparable in terms of everything, and it's even got the same exact panel on my Pixio. So I'm just waiting for the right Vega or 1080 Ti to kind of come out and just make its way into my main system here. And I'll be happy to switch over to AMD if Vega's outperforming Nvidia, certainly. And yeah, I mean, and then even so, right at launch, maybe Nvidia might be winning, but AMD might get better over time with that sweet fine wine technology, which you guys know and love so much. Last AMD story here before we move on to some of the Acer announcements. They actually announced their FreeSync 2, which is not really going after the same things that we would have expected from FreeSync in the past, smoothing out frame rates and eliminating things like tearing and stuttering, that kind of stuff with monitor technology. This is more so targeting HDR and reducing the latency as it pertains to HDR. So I imagine the number of people that are interested in this is going to be fairly limited compared to people that were interested in getting rid of stuttering and tearing in their games. I mean, I guess this is a very important thing, certainly, as HDR seems to be kind of the way that monitor technology is going in the future, and this is kind of saying that they're going to be pinpointing on certain monitors that fall into their low frame rate compensation range. So the really high end FreeSync monitors that kind of nail everything that they're going after in terms of spec wise, having a good frame rate ratio, a frame rate range, or I should say, for what FreeSync is supported on those monitors. We're knowing right now that they are partnering up with Samsung is going to be some of the first ones coming out. But I'm curious to see which of the existing FreeSync monitors will get support for this, because obviously some of them out there should theoretically meet the spec as far as supporting low frame rate compensation. I know my Pixio, like I just mentioned there, that supports the low frame rate compensation because it's a 50, I believe it's 40 to 144 hertz, something like that. So it's got a pretty big range on that one. It falls into the AMD LFC. So I would be curious to see if it gets the full HDR latency support like they're talking about here, where they'll be able to enable HDR on even non-HDR displays necessarily, if I was reading it correctly. So it sounds very cool, certainly, and I'll be looking forward to checking it out once it's available and I have a monitor that it actually works with. So it sounds pretty cool. Up next, Acer, they've announced some new notebooks. This I was excited to see. If you remember early in like mid-2016, I did a video on one of their Aspire notebooks, which are like $550. It's kind of like a student notebook, but it had a 940MX in it, so it was capable of gaming. But now Acer has a couple of notebooks that they're coming out, which kind of get away from the big bulky form factor of like their Predator series, like this one here, like the Predator 17, where they've got like the biggest like processor and GPU that they can get on there, like a desktop 1080 inside this thing, but they're absolutely monstrous. They chew through batteries. So the ones that I'm really interested in about them showing off here is the Aspire VX15. I think this looks pretty cool. These are going to be starting at around $799. They are going to range up to probably close to $1,000 depending on which one that you end up getting. On the lower end, I would expect to see it with the i5. What is it, 7300 HQ and a GTX 1050, while on the higher end you can get something like a 1050 Ti and an i7 7700 HQ. So if they can do this with the the 15-inch display, and if they're doing this lighter and kind of slimmer than the Acer Predator 17s, they said this is going to be 2.5 kilograms here. They've got the Nitro notebooks, which have a bigger battery support, which will be around 2.6 kilos or 2.5 with the smaller battery. So these kind of laptops certainly do seem very interesting to me, especially if they can get the weight down on it and be able to just give me, an i7 with decent battery life. And, the GPU, I'm fine with a 1050 or a 1050 Ti in a notebook like this that I would want to be using as a mobile workstation. I'm more concerned with having the good battery life and a fast processor so that it can deal with having multiple applications opening if I'm going to have to minimize stuff. And because if you're working on one screen, I'll usually have a lot of applications open and just kind of minimize so I can kind of get through things fast. So I'm going to need a lot of memory and a fast processor to be able to do all of that, and hopefully having good battery life too. So this is something I want to definitely check out, the Aspire VX15, and I would say probably the Nitro 15-inch notebook as well, and kind of see how those stack up against one another at the, around. I think the Nitro is going to be up more over $1,000, but the Aspire is going to be under $1,000. So I think that'll be the more interesting one of the two to take a look at, because I think more people are going to be interested in probably buying one if they're under $1,000. But let me know what you guys think about these notebooks down in the comments. I'd be curious to see your feedback on which ones you would be interested in checking out. There was also a few monitor announcements coming out of Acer. Nothing 4K 144 hertz, unfortunately, like we're going to hopefully be seeing from Asus in the coming hours. But they did show off a 200 hertz 2560 by 1080 monitor that has the Tobii eye tracker built into it. That's like that new eye tracking thing that they kind of marketed it along with Deus Ex: Mankind Divided when that came out a few months back. And there are other games out there supported as well. Elite Dangerous supports it, and I believe a few other titles out there. It's something I haven't really tried out yet. It's something I would like to eventually utilize. I think they kind of missed the mark here on this monitor by going with 2560 by 1080, which is going to continue here with the other monitors they showed off. Again, they kind of stuck with 1080p with all of their monitors they showed off this year at CES, and I really don't know why they're trying to go in the direction of having strong 1080p gaming monitors when I think 1440p is becoming more and more relevant with the even like the lower kind of mid-end GPUs like the 480 and the GTX 1060. We're starting to see those tackle 1440p gaming. So I would like to see more 1440p monitors. They did. Looks like they took some good feedback. If you remember the Predator monitors like this that had the red feet kind of at the bottom, it looks like they've done away with that. Now they've got a black crisscross pattern, which I think looks great. I think the all black on black model like this, the way that they're doing it here, looks fantastic. If they were to update this on their XB271HU to the 272HU, if they did that, this is the XB272. If they did it on the HU and the HK and the 1440p 165 hertz with the black feet and all of that, then I would be all over that like a rash. But again, now with Asus looming kind of in the background with a potential 4K 144 hertz display, it's certainly going to put the pressure on Acer to kind of answer back with that, hopefully in the near future, as I think 1080p is kind of on the way out, and I wouldn't really advise many people to go out and spend, $600 or $700 on a 1080p monitor when you can get something comparable like a 1440p 144 hertz, like a refurbished or even a new XB270HU, the first generation Acer 144 hertz 1440p monitors. You could pick those up for around $600 or $700. You can get them closer to $600 if you're willing to get a refurbished one, and maybe even less than that if you're willing to shop used over on eBay and take your chances there. So for people with that kind of a budget, $500-$600, I don't really see them spending that kind of cash on a 1080p monitor. So not really sure the direction that they're going here with these monitors coming from Acer. I would certainly like to see them be more aggressive here at CES, but it doesn't look like they're going to be doing that. But the laptops, though, like I said, those laptops look really good. I really want to check out the Acer Aspire. I think that's going to be really great coming out of Acer. Mass Effect Andromeda, it looks like we finally got a release date now. It's going to be March 21st, so EA and BioWare have given an official date. I guess we'll be seeing more Mass Effect on March 21st, and I'm looking forward to checking it out. Hopefully the optimization is going to be there for the PC on day one. Mass Effect 3, I remember, I think that was locked at 60 hertz. The textures were awful. If you modded the textures, it took like an hour and a half to load into the levels, so it wasn't like the most great port like all time. But yeah, I guess it ran because it wasn't really that taxing because it looked like poo. But hopefully this new one looks good because it is in the the Frostbite engine and all that. So yeah, I'm hoping for good things for Mass Effect Andromeda. I wasn't really over the moon with what BioWare did with the last Dragon Age game with Inquisition. I didn't think that was as good as the previous Dragon Age game, so I'm hoping they could kind of bounce back with Mass Effect Andromeda and do something really good. But yeah, go ahead and let me know you guys questions and stuff like that in the chat. We'll go ahead and bounce through some of the questions here in the chat. We'll do a quick Q&A before we go ahead and get out of here. Kind of a shorter show than usual. I guess I was just kind of bouncing through those topics one after the next. And today was kind of intended to be a little bit shorter of a show as I'm just kind of operating solo here. And Anthony will be back next week for TGW. He's, like I said, he's just at CES this week, so next week he will be back. But let me know your guys' questions in the chat. We have some time here to do Q&A before we go ahead and get out of here. No questions in chat yet. Come on, guys. We need to get those questions. Have you ever played Minecraft? Yes, I have played Minecraft. I'm not a big fan. I can't say that I'm a huge fan of Minecraft. I do know that I'm waiting for this Nvidia announcement though, with bated breath. Like I'm going out like after the show gets over, but then I'm coming back home and I definitely want to see this 1080 Ti announcement because that's kind of like I want a Titan X Pascal right now so bad, but if they announce 1080 Ti, I'm just gonna probably get that. Have I seen the MSI boards for AM4? No comment. NDAs are abound, sir. NDAs, yes. Let's just say that there were topics in the lineup before the show was going to begin, and some of those topics had to be shuffled for reasons. Thank you, Bob. I appreciate the support, sir. Yeah, it's been hard, bouncing around from different host to host, but I'm glad we finally got Anthony pegged down to do the show. I think he's a great addition. He's very knowledgeable. I'd put him up there I would put him right up there with the likes of Steve and Wendell, kind of as far as the knowledge base. You could just kind of bounce questions off of him, and he'll just instantly just like have it in the back of his head like a Rolodex of technology, like information. It's very, very good having someone like that to be able to talk to and kick ideas around with. Can any video cards handle 4K 144 hertz? Well, if Nvidia chooses to unveil the Asus monitor, then I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to showcase the 1080 Ti playing on a 4K 144 hertz screen. That would certainly be a cool way for them to show it off and kind of kick off that GPU. If they could show it running some games at 4K, even anything over 60 hertz, really, I'd be pretty happy to see. Price drop on 1080? I don't know. We might see a price drop on the GTX 1080. I would certainly love to see that. But then I would expect to see the 1080 Ti coming out maybe lower than like $900. Ideally, I would like to see that if that's the case, I'd like to see the 1080 Ti release at around 700, maybe 750, and then get a price drop on the 1080. That'd be great. If you buy a 100 hertz monitor, does that mean you only see 100 hertz? Good question. That basically what that means is that your eyes will only be able to perceive what the monitor can put out, which would be up to 100 FPS, theoretically portrayed on the screen. So if you're getting anything over 100 FPS, then the monitor won't necessarily be displaying that to your eyes, so you won't be able to see it anything past 100 hertz. But 100 hertz is fine, honestly. I wouldn't don't feel like you're being limited by 100 hertz in any way. Yes, Anthony is permanent co-host. The 1 terabyte and 2 terabyte USB drives. I think I did see one thing about that go up. I don't remember any of the specifics, but I believe I remember seeing something about a 1 terabyte USB drive go up. 4K 144 hertz over which cable? It would have to be DisplayPort 1.4, if anything. If I'm just taking a guess here, but if they say anything in this article about DisplayPort, let's see. Yep, DisplayPort 1.4. It says the ROG Swift would feature 2 DisplayPort 1.4 and 1 HDMI port for 4K Ultra HD playback. So yeah, you probably would need the DP 1.4 though for the 4K 144 hertz. I mean, that was something they had talked about when Pascal came out. We know the Pascal GPUs, at least the higher end ones. The 1070 and 1080. I'm not too sure about the 1060, but 1070 and 1080 I have support for that for the DisplayPort 1.4. So cards like that should be ready to go for it. Yeah, so theoretically it can be supported. It's just a matter of a monitor manufacturer putting it out there and kind of taking the risk and hoping that the panels can keep up with it. If you remember, like when 1440 144 hertz screen came out, all of the issues that came up with that, and so I'm wondering if that'll kind of continue on here with 4K 144 hertz, if they'll kind of have the similar issues, or one's just as big but maybe different issues than what 1440p had with 144 hertz. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? I really don't know. I haven't pondered that question in quite a while, but one day I will ponder the question of how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood. That's something for a future TGW. We'll have to wait for Anthony to be here. I don't want to be selfish and answer that question on my own. I want him to be able to contribute to that amazing discussion next week on TGW number 83. Do I think TVs will ever go past 60 hertz as a PC monitor? Well, they've already been selling people on over 60 hertz TVs for quite a while, but whether or not they'll actually do it, maybe eventually, but I don't really see a need for them to. I mean, you could sell me a TV that's 24 hertz and I'd be perfectly happy with that. Or 30 hertz. Yeah, 30 hertz would be good. What mouse do I use? I use the Logitech G303. I bought this like 5 or 6 months ago and just haven't looked back. I bought it right before PAX West, and I love this mouse. It's good. Bought it myself and have no intention of switching it. You want to hear me type on my keyboard? What would you like me to type, sir? Like I don't know what you want me to type. Like I'll type some words. There you go. I type some words on my keyboard for you. I do have some videos you can watch of me typing. Just to watch any of my keyboard reviews, like on the Woz keyboards, and you'll see plenty of me typing. It's borderline ASMR type quality. So yeah, just go ahead and get in on that. Have you ever played Live for Speed? I've never played Live for Speed. No, I played Need for Speed. I don't know. I'm not familiar with Live for Speed. I am not too much into racing games anymore. I used to like them when I was younger. I used to love playing like Gran Turismo back in the day on the PlayStation 2. But yeah, I haven't been really into racing games much recently. The poor Volta jab at Nvidia from AMD. I did not catch that. If they did, I don't know. I guess AMD did a jab at them. I did not see it. I did see something go up at the 560M, but I didn't get all the details before we were getting ready to start the show, so I did not see it now. All right, guys, but I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here and wrap up the show because I've got some dinner plans that I got to go take care of and all that, so yeah, we did the show a little bit earlier this week. We didn't have as many topics, but I was running solo, so we kind of just burned through them. But I think we had some good quality ones there. If you guys enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave a like down below. Really do appreciate that, as always. And Anthony should be back for next week's TGW, and hopefully we'll have a whole bunch of content lined up, as we'll probably be getting announcements in the next 24 hours for... We'll be seeing announcements on probably Zen and Vega and maybe the Nvidia GTX 1080 Ti. Just hopefully whole bunches and bunches of oats of news. So that should be good. All right. Well, I'm going to catch you guys next week. Ta-da!